This is a reminder that the JENC meeting will be recorded. Okay, let's begin with introductions. You're gonna please state your name and where you work. I'll start us off. Anthony Daugherty, Department of Professional Development, Director.
Paul Houchins, Director of Research and Evaluation.
Jermaine English, Manager in Labor Relations.
Tim Kubrick, Chief of Human Resources.
Eugenia Feynman, Principal, Emerald Cove Middle.
Anne-Marie Gilbert, Principal, Cross Point Elementary.
Maureen Thompson, Manager in Professional Development.
Gordon Longhofer, President, CTA.
Good morning, Brianna Koch, CTA's Professional Development Coordinator, also part of the PD department at the district.
Justin Katz, CTA Executive Director.
Patricia Hatch, Part Teacher, Professional Development.
Lisa Roman, Professional Development Specialist.
Okay, and Dr. Amos is not able to join us. However, Dr. Amos is the high school representative for district side. Randall and Maureen, did you have a chance to go?
Yes, but I'll say again for anyone that may not have heard, I am Maureen Thompson, Manager in Professional Development.
Hello, I'm Randall Hottie, CTA staff.
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, our first item from the agenda today is the confirmation of our JENC members. And this is about the teacher representatives. Now, Patricia Hatch-Sabers is our elementary representative. We also have our two other members to confirm. Will Christy Seidel still be representing as the secondary?
To my knowledge, yes. She may have not been available today for some reason. I think Suncoast kind of gets embroiled and busy with testing at times like this.
Not a problem. We'll still keep her on. That's good. Oh, Dr. Amos is able to join us.
And Anthony, I do need to select someone to take my place that I had when I was on as a teacher. And I'll be trying to handle that before we have our formal meeting in June.
Okay, that's great. That was actually going to be our next item. So thank you, Gordon. We'll be patiently waiting to find out who will be taking your spot representing Middle.
And hopefully not waiting too long.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Amos, we were just doing introductions, just basically saying name and where you work, sir.
Hi. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I was on the other side of campus. Jesus Armas, Principal of John L. Leonard High School.
Thank you, sir. You're not that late. You're 3 minutes. That's no worries. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate everyone being able to join us today. All right, our second agenda item today. A recent grievance brought up the subject of the Instructional Practice Review Committee. It's referenced in the collective bargaining agreement. Let me bring that up on the screen. There's some conflicting information in it, so share that on my screen right now. On page 30, so let's look at page 30 in the collective bargaining agreement. And here's the area that we're seeing here. The purpose of the Instructional Practices Review Committee, the IPRC, is to provide an alternative process for resolving issues that arrive from individual observations. The IPRC shall consist of 3 members appointed by the Joint Evaluation Negotiations Committee, JENC. Now let's look at page 33. Section 10, procedural defects. If a teacher believes observational procedures were not followed on the instructional practice and or deliberate practice portion of the evaluation, he/she may request an appeal by a review board, which shall meet within 5 days of the request. The review board shall consist of 2 CTA members and 2 district members from JENC. besides continuing the language here, we have some conflicting information between these two sections. The current language is also very limited, so we have some things to consider. Do we already have a process in the CTS handbook for addressing concerns? If not, what could be added? Is the IPRC process needed if the CTES handbook addresses the problem adequately? If the IPRC process is needed, then what would the parameters look like? Is there a form? Is there a structure? How would the appointments of members to the committees work? What would those appointments look like? What would their duties and how often would they meet? So with those questions in mind, we're going to take some time now to caucus. So if you would, please join the breakout room for your caucus discussion. Okay, it looks like we're getting everybody back. All right, just a couple more cameras come back on just to make sure everybody's with us. All right, we had some lively conversations on our end. Gordon, Justin, how about you? Anything you'd like to share from your conversations?
Yeah, we're open-minded to consolidating parts of the contract that pertain to observational concerns or errors or procedural defects. I think that the original language that's been in there forever but not really utilized paved way for the procedural defects, which is recent. We put that in there within the past couple of years. And to your point, there is some conflicting information as to the number of members and an appeals process absent in one, included in the other provisions. So as long as the right for an employee who believes some sort of technical error or issue occurred during their observation or relative to their evaluation, because the procedural defect also brings in the deliberate practice and the PGP. If there's some sort of defect or error, we're open-minded to making sure there's an opportunity for them to air those concerns. So, we're happy to work with the district to tighten up that language. Thanks, Justin. The way we looked at it was, maybe the language when it was sometimes the first time you hit language on it, it's not exactly what you want, and maybe there's a different way to do it. But this is something that you and I have discussed many times. But when there's an issue between an employee and their supervisor or AP, whatever it might be, I think the thing that's missing in this procedural defect section is that we jump right to some committee, right? Rather than letting it first be resolved with the employee and supervisor. And I think 99.9% of the time, the employee and supervisor are going to talk. And if there truly was some sort of procedural defect, they'll remedy it. They'll fix it. So that's sort of where we landed on some of this. And if there ultimately needed to be some additional level of review, the thing I see here is it could just jump right to something between CTA, PD, labor, or me to discuss some issues. Because procedures are procedures, and if they're outlined and they're not followed, it should be pretty simple to say this didn't happen the way it's supposed to have happened, right? That's sort of, so that was our discussion, really. I wouldn't say I in looking at this and talking with principals that we have on the line here, this isn't something that comes up often. It's just not, doesn't seem to be some large scale issue.
Well, and our main concern that we want to make sure is incorporated into this is the idea that, as a subordinate, as an employee who's being observed by an AP or a principal, your supervisor, if you have to point out that they made a mistake, it's not personal. You're not trying to get at them, but if they did something incorrectly and you have to point it out to them, we just want to make sure that that there's a proper and fair resolution process. And one of our concerns is that if I'm the principal and I violate the CTES and don't observe people or miss timelines, I can't be the violator of the contract and then the person who dictates the solution. That's what we want to avoid. So if the employee and the principal, if there's an informal step before the committee is invoked or brought into it, we just want to make sure that the understanding of the observer, the administrator, is that it's to kind of discuss a solution. It's not for the person who broke the contract to then prescribe the solution to their own violation. And we fear that teachers, are as subordinates and as people being evaluated, which influences their employment, their compensation. We just don't want them to be in a position to have to be submissive when they've been in a situation where they've been wronged, to their detriment. So those are some of our kind of generic concerns where we want to make sure there's safeguards that a person who breaks the contract doesn't get to be the one who decides how to fix their error unilaterally and to their liking exclusively.
Understood.
So would you guys want to, on our respective sides, come up with plans or possible language, and then is the goal to bring that forward at the annual meeting in a couple weeks?
Well, I don't know that we can in that annual meeting adjust language in the contract.
Well, no, just to come up with, commonality and then through negotiations, codify it through formal acceptance, or if.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Okay.
Anthony, you comfortable with that?
That works for me. Absolutely.
I don't think neither side here obviously is, there's nothing to gain here. We're just trying to find the best way to fix the errors when they happen. And we acknowledge that, with 13,000 employees in the unit, 2 to 4 observations per person per year, you're talking about tens of thousands of instances. So there are inevitably going to be issues that require some sort of remedy like this. And we just want to make sure it's good. So, and I take the district that's absolutely their motive as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, yeah, I think that's a fair plan to when we meet for the CTES session that we'll have some ideas to have a discussion on this.
Okay, we appreciate that.
All right, great. And then just to segue now to our next JENC meeting, which will be on Monday, June 17th, 10 a.m. to noon. We'll be discussing the CTS updates for the new year. This is similar in the last few years where it's just been date changes due to the academic calendar. And then, of course, we'll also have student performance measure updates from Paul and his team. What we're aiming to do is draft the updates in the CTS handbook and share it prior to the JENC meeting, as we've been doing the last few years, to give both sides some time to review. And then hopefully we're in agreement, as we've been in the last couple of years, and we can kind of move forward on that item. An item for discussion, which I wanted y'all to think about, is the pre and post conference discussion for the formal observations. During COVID, we switched to utilizing Google Meet. And then when we had retreated from COVID protocols, we pulled back the option for using Google Meet for pre and post conferences for the formal. However, we left the process in place for Palm Beach Virtual and Hospital Homebound. We would like to bring back up the option, not the mandate, the option for teachers that would like to utilize the feature to provide them, efficiency and security. So that would be another item we do want to discuss at the next JENC meeting. Gordon, or Justin, sorry, it's coming up as Gordon on my screen, sorry.
We have the same Gmail account for work with our computers. So we reviewed that. We appreciate that being on the agenda in advance so we can kind of think about that, and we'll certainly come up with some ideas. One thing we wanted to put out there as a preface to that conversation is that we're not fundamentally opposed to it, but the manner in which it would unfold is important to us. Similar to how the employee right now has the right, they're supposed to be offered in August. Do you want your informal or formal first? We want to make sure that if we were to proceed with the re-implementation of the option of a virtual meet for the pre and post conference, that the observer has to ask the employee which is their preference, because our fear is that if the observer tells you, let's pick a date and time to meet, and you pick it for the pre-conference, and then they say, all right, we're going to hold it virtually. Now the subordinate, the observee, has to talk to their observer about contradicting what seems to be their express preference. So it's just like do you want your informal or formal first for 1Bs and 2s? if we were to move forward with this, which we're not opposed to, we just want to make sure that observers understand that when you go to schedule your time and place, that you say, what is your preference? Not, I want to have a virtual pre-conference, give me when you're available. Because we just don't want to turn it into they feel like they can't express that they want to meet in person because it's already been established by the observer that they want to meet virtual because it's important, obviously, these observations and the implications to the employees.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay. I believe that concludes our agenda items for today. I want to thank the group for taking their time to be with us, especially on one of the busiest days of the year. So thank you, everyone. We will see each other again on June 17th.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.